Yep.
Okay, my topic is medicating children with ADHD versus using a multimodal approach. ADHD is also known as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Definition of ADHD is according to William Bender, author of Understanding ADHD. He defines it as a set of behavioral symptoms that can be highly disruptive to both normal home life and the classroom endeavors of a child. The symptoms of ADHD include behaviors such as overactivity, inability to pay attention, making repetitive and inappropriate movements, low concentration, the child is easily distracted, often loses things, is fidgety, and much more. When diagnosing a child with ADHD, the child must display 6 or more of the symptoms, and behaviors must be present for more than 6 months, as well as being present in more than one setting. So, like, the child can't just be like fidgety at school; it has to be fidgety at home as well as at school. ADHD can be genetic, and according to the CDC, Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, 3 to 7% of school-aged children are affected by ADHD. My major claim is that a multimodal approach to treating children with ADHD is better in the long run than using medication. My secondary claims are parents must be educated on ADHD. The second one is teachers must be educated on ADHD as well as other behavioral disorders. And my third one is behavioral intervention should be taken into account before or if medication is introduced. First of all, a multimodal approach is treatment that includes parent training, behavioral intervention strategies, appropriate educational programs, education on the disorder, and medication if necessary. My first claim, parents must be educated on ADHD. With the right education, parents are able to adapt to their child's individual needs. A parent that has a child with ADHD should monitor certain things a little more closely, like caffeine intake, their exercise level, make sure that they go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time, roughly, like not exactly, but so they have a good sleep schedule. And if they use positive reinforcement such as praising. According to Amen, author of Healing ADHD, as of 2001, parents of ADHD kids are 3 times more likely to divorce than other married parents in the general population. This was mainly due to parents not working as a team, and they felt that their child was actually the one that broke them apart. My second claim is that teachers must be educated on ADHD as well as other behavioral disorders. Children should be placed in classrooms that are at their grade level and fit their needs, and teachers should set up a system of rewards, positive reinforcement such as praise and things that are done right or like directions that are followed, and things like such as stickers or point systems are suggested by CHAD, which is Children and Adults with Attention Deficit Disorder. My third and final claim is that behavioral intervention should be taken into account before medication. Avoid distractions such as radio, television, and others which can get in the way of completing a task such as homework, so don't have the child doing their homework while the television is on. Make sure the child is organized and keeps their belongings in a designated spot to avoid forgetfulness or losing items. And create a routine and stick to it. With any behavioral disorder, like, the best thing is consistency. So in conclusion, the multimodal approach will be successful if all interventions work together as a team. I'm not saying that medication is a bad thing. I'm not saying that we shouldn't medicate children. I'm just saying that if we don't have to medicate them, then we shouldn't. So, and if teachers and parents are more educated on behavioral disorders such as ADHD, and interventions are used, and there is no need to medicate children with ADHD.
All right, you ID the topic. I think you need to be a little bit more involving in the opening. You go right to a definition of ADHD. I think you could have gotten through that a little bit quicker and gotten to this multimodal approach that you're talking about, because that's where your controversy is. You're making a contrast between that approach and the medication approach. You need to have a supporting point that shows why the medication approach is problematic, why it doesn't work, or why it's less effective. You don't have that kind of point. Most of what you've got on your supporting points are descriptions of what kinds of training would be required in this multimodal approach, especially on the first and the second points, training the parents and training the teachers, without any demonstration that those approaches work, or that, for instance, that training in that situation is effective. That where's some data that says that the parents who receive this have better results or are more successful in getting their students, getting their kids successfully through school or reduce the problems. Or conversely, the same thing with teachers, suggesting that teachers follow particular programs. You've got a description of what the technique is without any demonstration that the technique works or that it works in the particular context that you're talking about. It's it's very well organized. It's easy to follow the structure of the speech, but that you need to be making inferences more than descriptions. I thought you had a lot of information at the beginning of the speech that you give citations on that's basically background information, both describing the tools that are being used and describing the problem itself. What you need is more information about the, like I said, the solutions. Very good on the source citations at the beginning of the speech. It felt a little bit like you were rushing through the presentation, doing a little bit of reading. I know you were anxious about it, but you were fine, so don't worry too much about that. But I think you could pace yourself a little more effectively, and it would work better. All right, thank you.